And then you'll come and you will, I just want you to say basically issues about this, if you'd like disability in Barbados, the arts and disability, and the fact that you're an advocacy officer and also a member of whatever, and what it's like to be a dancer. Yeah, because I can't find the mask right now. I'll have to go in my car and get one, but I don't want to keep this. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Gemini Project's online launch, I should say relaunch and premiere of film shorts. I do apologize if we kept you waiting a few minutes long, but I guess we thought we'd do it in Bajan style, just to remember where we are, Barbados, in beautiful island of Barbados. Thank you to all of our friends, supporters, families, and even followers who just joined on to enjoy. It's going to be very interesting, a constellation of film shorts, which were done by Gemini Project in collaboration with Jaryd Niles-Morris. We have included poetry, which inspired some of the works, and some other elements that you will come to see. So briefly, before I go on too long, Gemini Project was founded in 2014. At that time, it wasn't an integrated dance company, but I was teaching persons with special needs on the side, and gradually, somehow, we got this integration into our group, and we became a fully integrated company by 2017. I have with me here Chris Jokes. He is a dancer with us and also an advocacy officer. We teach classes. We have an adult performing company. We do schools outreach education as well in special needs schools, and also workshops as well. We do have big plans and big dreams and big hopes, and this is why we're calling it a relaunch. I'm going to hand you over to Chris.
Hi everyone, my name is Christopher, and as Diane said, I'm also a dancer with Gemini Project and Advocacy. Well, for me as a person with a disability and coming into dancing, it was something different, knowing that my disability did not affect my ability to cope with anything. You know, I was able to show persons out there that although there's challenges, persons with disabilities still can do things and be successful. I myself, I am also representing the Barbados Council for the Disabled as a public relations officer as well. And I do so many things in my capacity. And it is really great because I was not always an outspoken person, but being out there, it allowed me the opportunity to meet with different people, even in the disabled and the able-bodied community, which helped me to grow and become the person that I am today. But I want to encourage persons out there and who are listening, you know, because you see us, we are out there, we are doing so many things. But Barbados, the society just have to be able to accept us for who we are and know that we may be able to do things, but in a different way. So this is one thing that I want to I want to allow persons to know. I myself even I've represented Barbados in so many capacities, wheelchair racing and also advocating on the behalf of persons with disabilities. And now with dancing, I'm even going to advocate more. And I want to encourage persons out there with disabilities and even parents of those who have children with disabilities to encourage them and bring them into this society and let them be themselves and show society that they have different capabilities and they're able to do things. Thank you.
Okay. So the name of our show is actually Remergence, and I think everybody's remerging a bit after the last 15 months. And the more I thought about it, even from the computer crashing on me, it was like, okay, let's remerge. How are you going to deal with this? But it's a very valid point, and especially for us as creatives, we are all remerging in different ways, and everybody's remergence is particular to them. I'm going to share a teeny story very quickly before we move on to our show. So I've been talking to Chris all along, and I know that he was staying home a lot during the pandemic, but Chris told me yesterday, last night or the night before was like the first time in 15 months he had been out other than to have his vaccinations. Now, I work every day. I could not believe that. I felt really almost ashamed that I didn't actually know that or ask him that, you know? But he seems so cool about it. So it just shows you how we're all really having to kind of rediscover and readapt in various ways, even this online presentation, which is very new to us as well. So I'm just going to let Chris say one little word on his remergence, because I think it's very interesting.
Well, one thing I can say, this pandemic showed me that I can remerge in different levels. Like, for example, I've always been active. And since the pandemic, I was home, and it showed me now those out there with disabilities who are, let me say, house up. Homebound, yes. That, you know, it gives me a greater understanding for the things that we need to accept and adjust to in life. So emergence can mean so many things to every one of us. So I want you out there, even if you can type what emergence means to you in the chat, let me know so that I can be there with you.
Okay, thank you. We want to invite you to go on and enjoy the film shorts. Please send any questions. We'll be talking to 1 or 2 persons afterwards. And we also have a very special treat at the end. So do not leave before the very end, because after the shorts and the chats, we have a special surprise for you. Please enjoy the night. We're going to just take a moment to just look back at our past and just thank some of the beautiful people who have helped us to just kind of be where we are today and have helped to keep us afloat. Thank you.
Tell me what you see when you look into my eyes. If you look long enough, you can see me fly through Caribbean skies and land safe in a place that is paradise. That I will always call my home, where the people are my heart and soul, and I can never feel alone. And every time that I go away, so excited every time that I hear your name. Barbados, my heart just belong there. My heart just belong there. Break down there.
Hi, so we're back again. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I know some of you out there would have seen yourselves. And, you know, we just have so much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for everything that you have done and given to us. And more importantly, the ways in which you've really supported this company over the months and years is really sometimes that makes the big difference, especially when you're going through really hard things. And, you know, this is a community group. We would have had some of our, I think, our teething problems. Being that, not really teething, but it's like, because I mean, I trained in dance, some of us haven't, but that's also a beauty in what we do as well, because it's really about finding how to pull out the best out of each person and how to capitalize on each person's talents. I'm just going to share a little story. When I was training to dance, I never thought about dancing with persons with special needs. It's actually one of my best friends who was training, who was really interested in this area, and she wanted her own dance company like Kanduko in the UK. And she took me to this workshop. I'm like, the first workshop was good. I mean, I was just like, I was impressed, because I'm like, you know, the people with special needs, I don't want to say that they weren't different, but they weren't different. But you have to understand that I was coming from Barbados, and at that time I had a different concept of what special needs people did and didn't do. And I mean, they did everything, and they were just like so much fun and so confident, and it was a new paradigm for me. And then it was interesting from there, every single chance I had to go and do like a integrated class, I would go and do it. And honestly, some of my most beautiful moments dancing happened in those kind of spheres, and it's because I had a different body that I was working with, and it forced me to move outside of like myself and what I know and what I'm used to doing. And so a love for it just grew from there. And I think once I saw the way in which people operated over there, I felt like people in Barbados need to be able to operate in the same way, not just about dance, but on every single sphere of their life, where there is complete, you know, equality and total respect, etc. So after my spew, I'll try not to talk too much. I'm just going to point out the main pieces that we're going to see. First of all, we have a video which was produced by Jaryd Niles-Morris, a wonderful person that this company has been working with for about 3 years. He's been a fabulous support for us. And he's also extremely talented, as you would have seen from his show reel. So I guess we struck lucky there. And it was actually inspired by a poem written by Suleiman Bulbulia, who will be here with us later today. He wrote a poem which happened very soon after the George Floyd murder, and it's just something that just stuck with me. And I called him and I said, I want to dance to that. You know, I just felt like it was so powerful that I wanted it to have more life beyond a poem that somebody might not read again. So I hope that we were able to do that, and that we can keep that alive. And it's not a piece just about George Floyd, but it's really about, you know, the bigger paradigm of equality. And then we'll have a piece called After the Ashes, a really interesting piece. I'm not going to say anything more than that, inspired by photographs. And then, of course, we have Alchemy, which I'll let Chris mention very, very briefly, because we have to move on to the show.
Yes, thank you very much, Diane. Well, Alchemy is one of the pieces that actually I was able to evolve to different levels because of the different transitions we had to go into when we were creating the piece. You know, we opened our minds and opened the creativity in our movement so that it expresses, you know, the different feelings of all of us. This was something really that was close to my heart. And being able to create this piece with all the incredible dancers, you know, able-bodied and persons with disabilities, you know, integrated. That was really something that I can say was one of the best pieces. One of them. Not saying that all of our pieces aren't good, but that is one that I really enjoyed. Thank you.
Okay, please enjoy the show.
I can't breathe. 3 harrowing words symbolizing the 400-year struggle against brutality, oppression, and racial discrimination. I can't breathe. In whatever language, it means the same. Echoing through the ages, suffocating, intoxicating, life-taking. I can't breathe. Cries of the enslaved as they were callously herded into cages at Africa's door of no return. I can't breathe. Murmurs in the bellies of slave ships racing across the Middle Passage into a world of suppression and enslavement. I can't breathe. Wailing on plantations as slave masters drove their whips onto the backs of human beings. Humans they saw as nothing more than chattel. I can't breathe. The knee on the neck of George Floyd is the same knee on the necks of all the enslaved and their generations from beginning to now. The knee hasn't been lifted. It is the knee of racial discrimination, oppression, injustice, intolerance. The handcuffs around the wrist of your victims are the same shackles that bounded their enslaved foreparents. I can't breathe. The scream of all those suffering in their daily lives. Lack of proper education, no jobs, no equal opportunities, poor housing, limited health care, unsanitary environments. Instead of bending a knee to pray, you bend your knee to pray. Doesn't I can't breathe mean anything to you? Of course it doesn't. So conditioned by centuries of your self-imposed racial superiority, you are deaf to I can't breathe. Don't you see a human being under your knee? In your warped mind, all you see is black. The world is black and white to you. White is good, black is bad. What a disaster you are. Can't distinguish right from wrong. I can't breathe either. How can I? What I witness is evil in its truest form. I can't breathe if my fellow human beings can't breathe. It has to end, and end it will. There must be justice before there can be peace. Emancipation was not justice, it was merely freedom from shackles and whips. The knee was never lifted, and until the knee is lifted, there will never be true freedom. Lift the knee or break the knee. Either way, you can't continue to kill me. I bend my knee to invoke God's help and victory. Verily, the cries of the oppressed are not far from the hearing of the Almighty. I can't breathe until all of humanity can breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
since you're on.
So hi, I'm like, good evening, as if time has really changed. Not really. So we're back again. We're going to have a little chat. Remember, don't leave, because I have a little treat for you at the end. And I have with me Suleiman Bulbulia here. As I said, this is the gentleman who wrote the poem, I Can't Breathe. And I'm just going to ask him one or two questions and let him talk a bit more about it. I wanted to know, Suleiman, first of all, you are a writer, aren't you?
Well,
Sorry.
thank you so much to have today. It's just a wonderful opportunity, and I feel great to be here. And yes, I write. I don't write too much poetry, but I write columns, and I've been writing for about 30 years in terms of letters to the editors, articles, and yeah, different things that motivate me when I feel like.
Okay, all right, brilliant. So what inspired that piece? I mean, I know that, yes, George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd inspired it, but I thought there was something very special about that piece of work that you wrote. And I just want you to tell us maybe a little bit more of your thinking as you were writing it.
Well, basically, definitely when I saw in the news what happened, the tragedy of George Floyd and his murder, it moved me deeply. And the images and everything that just happened around that whole incident, and it's not only that one, but a culmination of other things that happen over the years, and you see it on the news, and you see it just constantly happening to people of color, especially in the United States of America, for me that was like the tip of the point at the top where how much more can this happen. And it moved me a lot, and I just wanted to pen my feelings. I wanted to put it down on paper, and it started to come to me like inspiration, really. And because I'm a lover of history as well, and I do history, I read history, and I kind of dabble into history, so I love history. So it kind of, all of that just came back as I wrote the piece. And I Can't Breathe was the main part of the whole piece that I did, because that was the words that he echoed, and so many others have echoed before that. And I just kind of fit that into all of the historical accounts, as you heard on the piece as I went through from the beginning to the end. Yeah. And I felt as though that statement was what has been echoing through the ages. Yeah, through the 400. Exactly, yeah, and that's what has been said. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I didn't even think of it in different languages, but there was a school in London who, for some reason, they saw the piece. I think someone from Barbados or something shared it with them, and they reached out to me and they said they really loved the piece and they wanted the students and the teachers at this school in London to do it in different languages, because they're a school that has different ethnicities and races and people from different parts of the world. And they just took the piece and they did it into different languages. I Can't Breathe. And that was phenomenal, because then for me it really reinforced my thinking on it, that is something that came over the ages, and it's not only for English speaking people, it's everybody. I can't breathe. Yeah. And it represents so much more than just racial discrimination. As I mentioned in the piece, it represents domestic abuse, poverty, other forms of discrimination and other problems that people face in their life. Even COVID, for example. I was thinking about COVID, because you have to wear a mask. I can't breathe in the mask, so health issues. So it kind of everything just came together. So I was happy about it, and I'm really grateful for you, Diane, for taking it and going to the next level. But, I guess that resonates with a number of people as well. So yeah, that's the thinking behind it.
Okay. Great. So thanks. It's interesting, as you said, like the whole pandemic. Actually, what stood out to me, and I think when I was working on some of these films, because we did I Can't Breathe last year, and I kept going like, when are we going to release this? When are we going to release this? When are we going to release this? And the time never felt right to do it for some reason. But the time is right now, and I'll keep that under a zip for whatever reason. But also, it's really amazing that all of this has happened during a pandemic. Yeah. So if you think about it, the last 15 months, we have gone through a pandemic. We have gone through race protests that I have never seen in my life. We're now going through, it's like we're going through like just so much kind of trauma in the middle of a pandemic. Like, how do you do that in the middle of a pandemic to people, like really, And so, that I Can't Breathe actually is, for me personally, it's a very diverse kind of concept
of that feeling of not being able to breathe. And for those of you who live in Barbados or St. Vincent, you may know we had a volcanic eruption from St. Vincent. Barbados was covered in ash. When I tell you, if I thought I couldn't breathe in a mask, I could not breathe when that ash came down. I had to run from my car to a building. It literally felt like it was burning inside of your throat. And so, you know, it was just, I think, interesting, you know. So I'm going to move on to the next piece, but you can stay with me, Suleiman. And I really want to invite people out there to ask questions. And the next piece, actually, funny enough, was actually stimulated by a thought of the volcanic ash. There was something that resonated about the ash to me. Although I couldn't breathe in the ash, so I couldn't figure out how to dance in the ash. And of course, when the dancers heard they were going into ash, they weren't too impressed with me. So we went into a kind of rundown building, and we shot that in there. And there's just something, for me, really powerful about photographs. And like when we do like photos, we actually work through improvisation to get through photos. So it's like movement that generates the images. And there was just something about capturing the detail of those photos and the details of the movement. And it was really funny because what started out as feeling like ash for me, literally at the end of it, due to the graffiti in the building, it felt literally like a bomb shelter to me. You know, and this is what's going on in the world. This is what people are going through, you know, having to just I think, a bit kind of like traumatized, really. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let Chris come on over. This is your life. Sorry, you're going to get the slightly mad side of me. And I'm going to ask Chris a little bit about alchemy. Alchemy is even more interesting. It's not really more interesting, but you may not realize that alchemy is actually shot at Harrison's Point. So this is where COVID patients are now actually being kept. So it was shot there, literally just before the pandemic, literally just before. And we were so lucky that we got to do it before the pandemic. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to do it, you know? So it's interesting now that that building is now a place that actually houses persons who are suffering with moderate to severe COVID. And when we went in there, once again, I seem to have a penance for burnt down buildings. It was a state of total disrepair. We spent hours scrubbing, cleaning.
And everything we had to do in order to get this production to where we wanted it to be. We had to do so much cleaning, and then to visualize the different areas where we had like the different rooms where we want to do different scenes, you know. We have to clean up everything, and then being able to see it here today, you know, that is really something great, because we can now say, well, this was a success. You know, it didn't go in vain. And now looking at all the different things we're going through now with the pandemic, with the ash and everything, now this comes together as one, you know, it speaks to so much different things that are happening. Standing for the things we face as people, and you know, and look at togetherness as something great, and be a brother's keeper.
Yeah, and I think what gets even more interesting about that building is historically that was actually a prison first. So it was an army base, then it was a prison, and then it was the place where we got to do our dance film. And now it is, it's actually like a hospital. So, and I feel glad that we got to capture it. You know why? Because it's not going to be, we caught it in a moment. It's not going to be that again. Because
transform into a different level.
Exactly.
Because now we are able to, like, when we were doing the cleaning, you know, we was like,
that took us hours
oh, what did we get this done?
Hours and hours to clean. We had to go in there with water
and
bleach
brooms and everything just to make sure we scrub down the floors. Because you know, all the groundwork, you know. But it really turned out good. I can say that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So are there any questions? Please, I really invite you to ask some questions. I think these are things that are very topical. And if you look at our work, you will notice that we don't do for the sake of just doing work. As a company, I think we're very attracted to social causes and psychological issues, etc. So we want to have like discourse about things generated from work. That's how we see art as a tool for discourse, a tool for healing, and other things like that. Okay, so we're going to just take a little break. Soon I'm going to let Chris and Suleiman talk very quickly, and I'm just going to slip over to the side. And before we move on to some other things for you, okay?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so looking at what is going on now, what can you say that we would need to do as a country, as we're all in Barbados and we're facing some of the challenges, because there's still discrimination and there's racism on different levels. Yeah. What can you say about that?
I think first and foremost we need to have a consciousness, and it's always that we need to drive that consciousness. People that are aware of what's going on, people are aware of what the situation is in the country. What we recognize is that you have to drive people to that consciousness of awareness and understanding what's happening, because sometimes people just don't pay attention in some cases, or they don't want to get involved. And once we raise the level of consciousness of what's happening, people then start to say, well, I didn't know that. You're telling me something that I really didn't pay attention to. And I think through art, through poetry, through what you guys are doing, people begin to get aware through different methods, and younger generation, as you know, they don't read too much. They don't, they don't like to read too much things. Yeah, quick stuff. They want to see a video. They want to see something quick, and that's where we can put that level of consciousness there into those kind of formats where young people especially can go to and get something from, because they're getting a lot of stuff, but a lot of that stuff is not. That's toxic. A lot of it.
Not positives, as we would say.
Correct.
So I believe that as a young person myself, that what we need to do, I think that this pandemic has really driven a lot of thought in our minds than before the pandemic. Because when I look around, I see a lot of petitions, a lot of different protests happening, and than was going on before. So now I would always encourage my fellow brothers and sisters who are young also to take action on anything that is facing them at any issue, because the only way we can face these challenges is by speaking out and letting persons know the things we are going through, and then we can come together and fix it with a resolution.
Yeah, agree with that. I agree with that 100%, because you see it in a number of different things where once they are aware of the situation and people then start to catch on to it, they then become vocal about it, and they begin to understand and speak out and say, well, this is the change we want. And we've seen a number of things in the country that's happening that way, and social media obviously drives that. And that's where we need to be as well. And you saw it with the Black Lives Matter protests and how it came into Barbados and what it meant for Barbadians. And one thing that it meant for Barbadians was Nelson's statue. That was one issue, and that resulted in it going. Exactly. But there's still a lot of other issues that still have to be ventilated. So I suspect that those will also come to the fore. But you're seeing that happening once we get out there and speak about it, and people speak about it and raise the issues. But I'm really, really happy to see what you guys have been doing in the Gemini project, and I think that is something that can go far, and embracing everybody. It embraces everyone. It's not selective.
It's more like inclusive.
Correct. It's inclusive, and so on.
Yes, for the next thing that I want to speak on that really caught my attention was the recent Palestine situation. That is another thing that, I've realized the youth, they took charge of that. And, they showed, the support, because we may not be facing those situations, but it affects all of us in some way. Because they're kids, they're still youth who are going through these different challenges. And although we are in Barbados, a small island, anything can happen at any time.
Correct. Agreed.
So being able to see these things and act on them is a real achievement.
No, you're absolutely correct. And as one of the organizers of the Palestine Stand for Palestine that we had about 2 Fridays ago, I was very, very happy to see a number of young people come out and actually verbalize their concerns of what's happening in that part of the world. And basically what we are saying is, we stand for Black Lives Matter, we stand for Palestinian Lives Matter, because we have to stand for consciousness, we have to stand for what is truth and what is justice. And this is not, clearly this has been going on for a long time. Many people have been affected and suffering as a result. And the narrative has to come out that it is a case of injustice, and it's a case of superior power over an inferior group of people. And we want that to resonate in the Caribbean as well. Many Caribbean governments have recognized the state of Palestine. Unfortunately, Barbados government hasn't. So that's one of the things that we are pressing for, to recognize Palestine as a state. But it has gone well, and many people now are talking about it. Many Barbadians have said, well, I wasn't aware of all of these facts, and now they're aware. So it's getting the information out there and getting people to read and understand what's happening. Yeah. But yeah, so great. You have some questions coming in? Yes.
So then, as we are here, let's encourage our viewers to send in any questions that they may have so that we can answer them as best as we can.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So we don't have too many questions. What we have is we have wonderful comments, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much for appreciating the work. What's interesting is that when you see a film, it's 4 minutes, but it takes so much effort to actually get, that done. I mean, Alchemy that we did, we rehearsed for months to do that, because a lot of it was set choreography, as you can see. It wasn't improv based. So, it's just like how much work really goes into producing, just a short piece of work. And we do hope that we can continue to push our video material. We have other video material which we're kind of keeping under the wraps. You would see that we had a flyer saying called Blueprint, and that's a production we'll be working towards coming soon. So that'll be really interesting. I'm interested in that one particularly because it's actually inspired a lot by the writings of somebody that I admire greatly. That's Martin Luther King. And I would have read his autobiography actually probably about 3 times. I love his work so much. Such a powerful Black young role model. And really, what I love about his work and his writing and everything that he stands for is that it doesn't apply to just Black people, or it applies to humans. It's about the human race and about not dividing people. So I'm, really looking forward to kind of digging into that one, really. And you will see also that we hope to have a summer camp. We always had a summer camp for the kids. You'd have seen in some of the photos, man, those kids have fun because we do dancing, we go to the beach, we do art classes, we do singing, we do theater. They have a ball, and I'm left tired. But it's really great fun. Of course, the pandemic has taken that away from us for 2 summers. Oh my gosh, already? That's just not cool. So if we can do that, we would love to do that. If we're not able to do it in a wide way, we definitely will still have our kids do it. And then, of course, we want to get a bit more academic and start discoursing on creative arts and special needs in Barbados, because these are academic discourses that need to happen. And we want to be a part of taking Barbadians from, oh, that's a pretty dance, to actually articulating on art and dance and music, actually having conversations on these things. So that's hopefully where we're going. We hope to go a lot further than that, but I'll just keep the lid on that box. Not just in case it doesn't manifest, but I'll just keep the lid on that for now. It will manifest.
It will manifest. Speak
Speak into being. And I'm just waiting for something to download. Pretty straightforward. 1 more minute, guys. 1 more minute. And Suleiman, what are your plans moving on from here? Because actually I remember telling you, I was like, Suleiman, I'm like, so do you write poetry? It's like, what other poetry do you have, So I'm trying to encourage him to write more poetry because I actually think he's a really good writer and I love poetry.
Well, no major plans as yet. And as I said, I don't write poetry that regular, but I thank you for the inspiration and thank you for the confidence. And I hope that I will. There were a couple of things I was thinking about going through. I mean, as Chris raised the Palestinian issue, so I wanted to write something on that. I also wanted to write something on kind of take the African enslaved and what they would have gone through from being picked up to the region. As you know, I'm of the Muslim faith, and about 20% of those brought over from Africa were Muslim. And so there are evidence that they were also in Barbados enslaved who had practiced the faith, or tried to practice, obviously, in these circumstances. I wanted to write something around that and kind of put that into writing. So that's some of the things I'm thinking of. But yeah, it's something that you have to be inspired about and really sit down and do it. But I'm doing that. But I'm glad to hear that you mentioned about Martin Luther King and these other leaders, because I'm wondering how much of that resonates with the younger generation now, and how do we get that back into their psyche and thinking. So I'm good that I'm good. I'm happy to hear that you're resurrecting a lot of that work and kind of bringing it into the younger generation so that they know who these people are, because I think a lot of them have lost that connection. So it's good that I'm hearing that.
Okay. Yeah, great. No, I think he's amazing. I was actually having that conversation with somebody. How do we get our young people to understand, about who these people were, what they taught? They were such giants, such phenomenal leaders and human beings, It's like, luckily, the kids still remember Bob Marley. And Bob Marley, don't get me wrong, Bob Marley was powerful, because I'm a Marleyite, thanks to my mother, if you're out there. But, I think they just have so much to give, So I'm going to pass on to Chris. Chris apparently has the questions. Let's hear.
We have not much questions, but
That's
some
okay.
comments, basically. The person said, well, what does the project need to be able to take the work further? So we would need, support. That is one thing for sure. And support is like financially support, and also support of our society within the able and disabled. So if there are persons out there who can dance, or even who want to learn to dance, they can link us up at Gemini Project, and we would be sure to work with you in getting something done. Because dance is really something that fixes mental health as well. When we look, because we may not look at it that way, but our mental health since the pandemic has been broken in many ways. And also, there's another comment here. I would like to see more persons with disabilities involved with the arts. That was really good, Christopher and Sean. And there's another question I love this so much, and the stair shot was great. They enjoyed the one where we personally did on the stairs.
Well, I love those stairs. I don't know, Gerard, he can't be here today, but I hope he's out there listening, maybe stealing some time away from his commitments at this time. But he's just got such an eye. Honestly, he has such an eye. And the stair shots were really powerful. When I saw them, I was like, gulp. Because I just love how they show, the sweat on, you see the sweat on the body, the ash, the muscle, everything, and all the effort. And, it's interesting what he goes through to get what he wants, out of a shot. So you love the stairs. I love the one on the wall, So, yeah.
There's another comment here where someone said, where would you like to see dance or inclusive dance develop, go in Barbados or the Caribbean? Well, for me, as an inclusive dancer, I would like to I would like that Gemini can take it across the region, not only in Barbados, because there are persons out there within the disabled community in the different parts of the Caribbean that I'm sure dance can help them to come out of their comfort zone. And not only do that, but it can open up doors for them and show them the way. Because right now, some of them may be lost, but that is something that would help.
Yeah, for me, in terms of inclusive practice in Barbados, I would like it to just really be everywhere. We wanted to have a really strong integrated approach, but we found that difficult. And simple things like transportation to get dancers to rehearsals and back. At first, when I started, I used to be the taxi driver, and I'd do 2 hours driving around to get the kids there and 2 hours back. So it meant it was really, really long. And, you know, if I had a kid in a wheelchair, then I had to lift them. And, you know,
So that's basically accessible transport that
Yeah.
we're looking at, for sure.
Yeah.
Accessible because if you are transporting persons with different disabilities, or perhaps a wheelchair user, you need an accessible vehicle. Because transportation in Barbados, I can say, for persons with disabilities are very expensive. And not much persons, if a lot, are working because of the stigma that we face each day. It's something that is there, you know, it doesn't go away. It's there as you open your eyes, you know, it comes in different forms.
Yeah, it's so true. So, for example, like some of my kids, and I mean, I'm so grateful to Chris and Sean. They're like some real giants in Barbados. And they're giants for Gemini Project because, you know, they don't miss rehearsals. They don't miss projects. They just make it happen. And I admire them so much. You know, but like for some of the kids who are interested, you know, mommy will say, well, I can get her there, but I can't get her back, or I can't afford it today. I don't have the bus fare, and you know, just little things like that. And the reality is, as you said before, sometimes these people are from lower socioeconomic kind of groups in Barbados, which means they don't actually have the money. They may not even have a car for transportation. And then they're faced with a challenge that they don't want to let their child with a special need travel on their own to classes. So we've always found that there's been challenges in having consistency, particularly with the children. And how we got around that actually was we decided to take creative movement programs into schools, which we fund through the fundraising shows we have. So we actually had a couple weeks where we went into, I was in Thelma Vaughan Home for a while, Derek Smith School. We actually created a very sustainable program in the Chandler School. But of course, what happened is that the pandemic kind of kicked us out the school, and I'm hoping that we can resume that program in next semester. And while I'm talking about the creative program, Nicolette Williams, who's actually a trained dance movement therapist, she's one of our main leaders, and she runs the education program. While I'm talking about people, I also have to call out Stacy Johnson. Stacy Johnson is the alcohol to my cottonmouth. I'm the cottonmouth in the group. Stacy's the alcohol. So she's our technical rehearsal director, and she really makes things come together. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been able to do well at certain things we've done, like we've been to NIFCA. Whenever we've gone to NIFCA as an adult group, we actually medals, we made it to finals, but that's because of the rigor behind the whole cleanup process that she kind of has had on us. And I thank her so much because she's always a little bit of a background person, but honestly, I couldn't do a lot of what I do without her and her support and her encouragement. She's alcohol, as I said, so she's like, Diane, get up, get done, do it. You know, so that helps to make things happen. So, you know, I can't call everybody, unfortunately, but I had to make sure I mention those two people. And of course, thanks to people like Stephanie Taylor. Steph is really wonderful. She's a wonderful dancer. She works with a lot of companies in Barbados. But if I ask her to assist us, she always comes and assists, and she loves working with the kids, etc. So I thank her for that. You know, what she puts into us as well is very, very much appreciated. And of course, the NCF and everybody else, you know, who encourages us and supports us. Okay.
There's another one here. This is an incredible snapshot of arts in Barbados. Quite inspiring. It's wonderful to see how one can use one's talent to lift and showcase other people's talents.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I'll let Chris respond to that.
Well, I want to thank everyone first in the comments, and because without you guys and the support, as Diane said, there's so many persons within our group because there's no I in team. All of us work together, and our team is very big. I can say that for sure. Even if the person's in the background. But I can say Gemini Project is really one of the best teams to be with. So I would encourage persons to come, and we would welcome you with open arms, for sure.
Okay. So we're going to wrap up just now. We're going to move on to some ads. But remember, I have a special treat for you after the ads. Of course, you've discovered my little love for writing and poetry, and we're gonna do a little something to a piece written by Kelvin Carvelbo. I actually mentioned it to him after we were in that building with the ashes. It was just so kind of like all in my emotions. So I said, can you write something for us? Because I actually really do like his writing very, very much. And I put a little something to it. And finishing off, I just want to encourage everybody strongly. We're still in a pandemic. And we're praying for Barbados. We hope that we don't go back into lockdowns, but I know in many places people have gone back into lockdowns. To my creative colleagues and partners and friends, keep the faith alive, please. I can tell you 2 months ago, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get this group off the ground again. That's honestly how I felt in my heart. I didn't know how to do it. We had a period without any sponsorship or anything like that. And I just didn't know what to do, how to do it, where we're going to go. But I just took a plunge and said, no, we have to get our butts up and get going again. Otherwise, we'll just kind of drown and disappear and disintegrate. I can't find the word, disintegrate or dissipate. And after putting in so much work, we could not allow that to happen. But I just want to encourage you, maintain and safeguard your mental health. Do what you have to do to take care of you. Those of you who know me know that I'm actually a doctor as well, a medical doctor, and I currently see so many people suffering with quite severe depression, anxiety, and other problems, etc. As long as we have life, we're going to get through this somehow, right? Even if the future doesn't look exactly like you planned it, or you have to do things differently, figure it out. Okay? Life has to go on. It's one life we have, and it's definitely worth living. So I'm going to also big up Innovative Media, boop, 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 who has saved me, basically. Saved me, literally. So thanks so much to him and answering all my queries on how do I edit this and what do I do. Thank you very much for helping me and for streaming this session. And we're going to go on to ads now. Goodbye. God bless. Take care of yourselves. And we'll go to ads. And then, as I said, we have a little treat for you. And I hope you'll enjoy it. Good night and God bless.
Tell me what you see when you look into my eyes. If you look long enough, you can see me fly through Caribbean skies and land safe in a place that is paradise. Oh, that I will always call my home, where the people are my heart and soul, and I can never feel alone. And every time that I go away, so excited every time that I hear your name. Barbados, my heart just belong there. My heart just belong there. Break down any wall, any barricade. For another homeland I will never trade. Barbados, my heart just belong there. Little island, big, big love that will never go away. Never go away. Little island, big, big love that will never go away. Never go away. Tell me what you hear when you
So this is Rising from the Ashes, written by Kelvin Carvelbo. I rise with the morning sun in all its glory, erasing the mist, creating my own story. Not a lifetime movie. I exist in this race called the human race, moving through space and time, never underestimating God's will and the power of the human mind. I am entwined like fine line, free as a bird not confined, turning in the hands of times. No ifs or buts, I am one of a kind. Expanding from within, strengthening the foundation of the mind. From the ashes of then and now, yet somehow I survived, I am alive. Movement that moves upon the face of the deep. As darkness gives birth to light, let there be. And it was a unique solo in the brew, a duet in the making, life's beauty in the eyes of me and you. And reality came alive in the breath of truth. As the curtain of life opens, revealing who I am a classic masterpiece in the very DNA of God's eternal plan. I dance to the universal music of experiences, caressing the guts of the ocean's floor with delicate, tranquil-like movements. The ashes now gone, advancing way beyond where I was before. I am not just a symbol of life. I am the wind, the ocean. I am that earthquake, a heartbreak. Yes, that hurricane you never saw coming. Firm and erect, only to erupt with love. I can't be contained, so let the ash fall. Soon it will rain. I rise with the morning sun in all its glory, punctuating my life, creating my own story. Like a symphony orchestrated by him, moving through the hands of time, turning the ups and downs into beautiful music. Within God's breath, I breathe every day, thanking him for life, every second, every minute, every hour, every day. Life filters through this earthly glass as my reflection lengthens, my shadow shortens, yet from the ashes, I survive. I